Muy buenas noches a todos y bienvenidos al Mexican Soccer Show, un show totalmente en español para todos ustedes. Empezamos con el Club León, atraviesa un gran momento en la clausura 2019 y es el líder indiscutible del torneo con 29 unidades. La racha fiera ya duró 9 jornadas y ahora está a un partido de igualar una histórica marca del Cruz Azul. Empezando con el pasado viernes, con el triunfo ante Morelia, los Esmeraldas igualaron el récord del Toluca de 9 victorias consecutivas. En el de 2018, contra los Diablos Rojos, Santos, Querétaro, Pachuca, Pumas, América, Lobos, UAP, Tigres, Morelia y Veracruz, desde la jornada 8 a la 16. Vamos a hablar completamente de todo, de León, de lo que está pasando con la Fiera, una hora totalmente en español para todos ustedes aquí en el Mexican Soccer Show. Y esperemos que estén con nosotros. Si tienen preguntas, si tienen cualquier comentario, lo pueden hacer aquí en el chat, al otro lado aquí en YouTube, para todos ustedes. Y empezamos lo que es este Mexican Soccer Show totalmente en español aquí con su servidor Wiso Vázquez desde Phoenix, Arizona, como Estados Unidos, todos ustedes. Empezamos a ver qué está pasando con el León, especialmente que va a romper una cosa que es histórica. Puede llevar, ya igualó a Toluca y pues mucha gente lo está viendo como el super líder que va a ganar la campaña de este torneo. Puede igualar a lo que es Cruz Azul, que en 1971-72 la máquina ganó 10 partidos seguidos. La racha de los cementerios inició el 18 de diciembre de 1971 ante Pumas. Y puede ser que León puede ser otro, lo que es histórico en esta Liga MX. All right. I tried. Welcome to another edition of Mexican Soccer Show. April Fools, if you were tuning in and going, what the heck is going on? Welcome, guys. Definitely a fun time that we're going to have today. Especially those that are on right now. Saying hi to MGuy24. Saying hi to David Copeland Laredo. And we're going to start with the big question of the night. But nobody is on. Mr. Tom Marshall's coming around. It's just going to be me and him today. We're really going to go and dig a little deeper into Tata Martino's camp. We're going to also jump in and talk about what is happening America and Chivas with the disparity there, with the Americanistas proud of saying they're Americanistas right now, and Chivas, again, it feels like we've heard this over and over and over. What is going on with Chivas and their Rebaño Sagrado? With those Chivas fans, I give them props. The fact that, you guys are continuing to still be, come out of the shadows and say, hey, even though we're losing, we've been here before. Because if you're a Chivas fan, you know that you've been through this. And then all of a sudden you get the highs of winning a championship and the lows. Americanistas, I feel like they don't suffer as much, although there are, times when everyone just kind of goes off because, you guys said it, your theme is Ódiame Más. Saying hi to Mr. Angel Hernandez. Saying hi to MB23. Saying hi to Louis. What's up, guys? We're waiting on Mr. Tom Marshall. He's coming on right now, and we're definitely going to discuss this. So whatever questions you guys have right now on the chat, let me know. For those of you guys that are listening to us on iTunes, thank you very much. We can't answer your questions, but if you do have some that you want to talk to us about, that you want to send over our way, definitely get it to us on the Monday. We'll try to answer them. Want to know who's listening that is not on the live show? There's actually a couple thousands of you that listen to us, and we want to thank you that's there. So we're going to kind of I'm going to jump in right away, and then Tom Marshall is kind of join us. If you didn't get a chance to join from the beginning, I started off with what is happening with Leon. We're going to discuss that. And if you're not listening, if you're not watching through the iTunes, I'm going to have my little Chile shirt, which I decided to wear today because it's going to be a spicy show. So that we'll have Carlos Colunga saying Chicharito's going to Monterrey. Lots. I normally we hear on April Fool's Day, we kind of put out stories. Also, we at the Mexican Soccer Show, Blue Mex Nation, we didn't really put a story out. I was kind of thinking maybe a story on Guardado going to the Seattle Sounders. Something that's believable and kind of take you by surprise, but I didn't get that. Pretty sure MGuy29, we'll talk about Chivas and the manager's dilemma again. Many people thinking that Cardoso took too long for him to get fired. And we'll see who's in our way. The name Juan Carlos Osorio was brought up almost. It's like people And I ask you, Chivas fan, that's actually a great question to ask you. Would you want Mr. Juan Carlos Osorio to go to Chivas? The guy with name 23, welcome, is Fuera Huizo. What he normally does. That's his saying. It's a love-hate relationship. He always wants me out, but he's always there commenting. So hello. And it looks like Mr. Tom Marshall is about to join us. Amy's saying, hurry up and please join us. Because she's not liking this as our producer being. So that's how it is. All right. Where do you think Gio's next destination is? You know what? I'll answer that question right now. All points to maybe some kind of Liga MX return from his ties to his brother playing, him coming out. You know, he was born in Monterrey, so he's got that. I could see him in Liga MX, regardless if he hasn't been playing. He still is a hot commodity in Mexico. As far, many people kind of, say that, he's washed, but would you want Gio on your team? Maybe this is a, vindication for himself to end his career and maybe have one last, great run at a season, because we've seen the seasons as he'd had before. So I would either go with America just as a signing, and who knows if it goes right, or even some of the Monterrey teams, and see where he goes there. So the guy with name 23 said Gio should play in the Bolivian league. Man, I don't understand the hate for Gio. Yeah, but what it is. We'll discuss again when Tom gets in about the the great, I would think, great 2 games for Mexico, especially the one against a great opposition as Chile, and what we saw against Paraguay. Regardless of what many people are saying, they almost came back. I really thought the game was in the bag. Towards it, the goals that came through, it could have been a lot more, and I think with the substitutions and all that. So I'll ask Mr. Tom Marshall, especially to give us a little look on Tata Martino, to give us a little bit of what he saw when he was in the camp. Is going to be different. I believe, guys, I definitely think it's going to be a lot more different than it was in others. I've already seen the love. There were some memes out there, jump on the Tata Martino train. Many people are definitely very happy. It's good to finally get to a place where everyone's okay with the manager, because when Juan Carlos Osorio kind of joined in, even people like myself, we were all kind of, where did this guy come from? But as far as what we're seeing now, I don't see any negatives for Tata Martino from the people. So it's good to have a national team coach that I guess everybody likes. And what's something that I want to mention is that a lot of people outside of Mexico are seeing this as a good thing. Talking to some of my Costa Rican friends who just kind of saw, wait, Tata Martino's with Mexico. The U.S. media, because he was playing with Atlanta, many of them have said, this is finally someone that they're at least respecting. Not that Juan Carlos Osorio wasn't, but he brings the name of the, obviously, Argentina national team, and most recently what he did with Atlanta. So it's kind of cool to see at least our rivals, right, kind of looking at that. I know I would be if Tata Martino went to the U.S. national team, just because of the experience. And a lot of people are kind of like, how do we land that guy? So I know that your hate towards the FMF and the conspiracies that you guys have towards it's all about money. I think they actually did well on hiring Tata Martino. Sure, there's others, but the guy with name 23 saying that the Tata is going to put the players in check, and we kind of already saw it, right? We already saw a very rules firm type of leadership from Tata Martino. We saw what happened with Tecatito. He's got no problem answering from the press, which I thought was a little bit surprising, because what we heard from him before was he wasn't really going to get, polemic. He wasn't going to get, if he had a question that he didn't like, he was just kind of going to skip it, what we've seen before. But he answered. In fact, I think he answered a little too much. Mainly, many people, him saying things about the field, how, the company that brings over, and have these types of events they've known before. He talked a little bit about Tecatito and the drama there, which still we don't understand what's happening. You have the team saying that he was, he was injured, and that they did give him a notice. Tata Martino coming back and saying that they never gave him the notice. Could it be that the FMF didn't really tell Tata Martino that they got the notice? Many different variables of what could have happening. But Tecatito played over the weekend, so he isn't hurt. You're right, he isn't hurt. So I still believe that there's something there. One of the things that I've known about following the Mexican national team is that whatever they put out is usually not true. I mean, that's what it comes down to. The Carlos Vela thing is still something that amazes me. Mr. Tom Marshall is on now. Tom, to save the Mexican national team discussion. How's it going, Tom? How are you?
Yeah, not bad, thanks. Tell me about that. Got confused about the old time changes. I thought we were back on the normal schedule. But obviously,
did the time change in Mexico?
Need to keep better track of time.
Did the time?
Yeah, it changed in Mexico, so I assumed it was the same.
So
I don't know. Not sure what's going on there, but yeah, no. How's it going anyway? All good? How did you get through?
It's good. It's good. Here we go. Well, we'll jump in. I was trying to stall where we had a little bit of a conversation. Amy's over here going, "Hurry up, Tom, get on," because I can't stand Wiesel just being there by himself. If you guys caught my little Leon rant in the beginning in Spanish, if not, go back and watch it. Mr. Tom Marshall back in Guadalajara after traveling with the national team as last week. We're going to start with the big question of the night. On April Fool's Day, give us your best fake news story, Tom. Do you have one in Mexican soccer? What would be a good fake story for April Fool's that you heard today?
What were there was it no, yeah, Univision did Buffo the new Chivas manager.
Oh gosh.
Quite good. That was quite good. Because I imagine some people actually thought it would be a good idea. So yeah, there's that one. Then there was one, Marcelo Bielsa to be Newell's Old Boys' new sporting director, which was another geese at once. So yeah,
that's a
decent
going
one. Around. Yours?
Yeah, I kind of started to feel that I didn't really see much, maybe because I wasn't really connected a lot from the day. But normally we see a lot more crazy stories. I said we wanted to pull out one that Guardado the Seattle Sounders for next season, but it didn't. I didn't put it out there.
No, I mean it's difficult because I feel like especially in Spanish, it's almost like Dia de los Inocentes. It's like that an April Fool's Day for me. It's never been like you put out fake news and you do that. Whereas Dia de los Inocentes is more of a kind of you make I don't know. It does have that more of kind of not darker but slightly kind of let's try and fool someone here like seriously. Whereas April Fool's is I don't know. I just think it's a bit more tame myself.
It's maybe because you see it there, but I see some pretty cool stories. I mean, since I remember some fake stuff and maybe in sport, not so crazy about in sports. In Mexico, I think they do it more than Inocentes. We try to kind of, as Mexican Americans, try to get both and try to do that. But for example, Leon tweeted out something about, if you know a female player, Dana Castellanos, she's from Venezuela, amazing player. She said, hey, you can maybe play for La Fiera. And people are freaking out because it's, why would Leon, especially Leon fans, know even, not that they don't know about April Fools, but apparently, it's stuff like that is the player saying that she wanted to get her college team. She's, I think, in college here in the United States. So it's kind of funny how that kind of worked out. But no, we didn't see that many great stories. So there's some on the chat that's saying Diego Maradona convinces Messi to play for Dorados for the 2019-20 season. That's hey, why not? Pep Guardiola played for Dorados towards at the end of the season, so it'll be there. All right, Tom. Again, especially that you're here, it's just gonna be me and you. We're gonna deep dive into 3 topics today. Starting off with really Tata Martino. But before we kind of look into Tata Martino, anything you got to say about the 2 games, especially the Paraguay game and kind of how it unfolded, especially where many people saw kind of a little bit of a fear there that they might have come back. But to you, a little bit, how did you feel that game?
No, I think the international break went well for Mexico. I think that I think you got to put it in context as well. And the context for me was that, in those November games in November, Guillermo Ochoa came out as one of the leaders of the team and said, this is a team without a direction, without a path. And we need that head coach. We need somebody to kind of guide us. We need to know what the goal is, how we're going to get to, that level where we're going to be fighting for the quarterfinals, and just basically a vision for the next 4 years. And I think Tata Martino's come in, and I think the players have seen a little glimpse of that vision. And I think, it's difficult not to be excited by what we saw in the international break. I think, Tata Martino is obviously somebody with a lot of experience, and he comes in there, and it was required. It's like a turning of the page. I think we saw, just, I don't know, you saw the authority in the press conferences. You saw he's not going to be, he's not going to be kind of tripped up by the press. He's just very direct. He's not afraid to say something, really direct, and that is going to cause issues and cause stories. But at the same time, he's not going to go out his way to look for the press and to say crazy stuff. And I think, I thought the Tecatito Corona issue in itself was I just thought it was I don't know. You have to put that into the context of it. That wasn't just a message for Tecatito Corona.
Yeah, you think?
Yeah, I mean, obviously he's there at the airport. He was ready to go, and then something's happened that stopped him going. And
I want to stop you there. Like, what is it now that we have the time that we saw and he's playing? Tom, to you, honestly, was it a miscommunication problem? Did Tecatito just not want to go? Is there something going on? I mean, you've been with the national team for a while. For me, nothing about a conspiracy, but something I feel that is not being told, and Tecatito just not wanting to be on this team. I think that's what it is.
I think Tecatito wants to be on the team. I think that it's basically he's injured. I mean, if you look at it strictly from Porto's point of view, it's completely understandable. There are two sides to every story. And I think we always, me as well, I've been looking at it from the Mexico side. But if you look at it from the Porto side, you've got a player who's injured. I mean, he's 100% injured. He did have a problem. He couldn't have played in those 2 games. Now, it's not normal for a club to release a player for national team duty when you're injured. So from Porto's point of view, it's like, why the hell are you flying over the other side of not just the Atlantic, but to the West Coast of the United States, just to kind of hang around when you've got, a bloody Champions League quarterfinal coming up, a 2-legged tie. Tecatito has done what we've asked of him this season. He's become an increasingly important player for Porto. That was the big thing before the season. Like, come on, Tecatito, we know your talent, we know you can do it, but you've got to live up to that kind of expectation that's been surrounding you for the last few years. And I feel like he's started to do that. And so from Porto's point of view, it's like they're like, well, the guy's injured. Why are we sending him over there? That's their issue. And obviously he played 90 minutes over the weekend.
But that's where we're coming from. I think if you remember, we were both at that press conference with Tata Martino saying how many minutes. I mean, it almost like, and he wasn't even looking at a paper, but Tata Martino was telling you he played this match, this minutes. He played this match. He came in and plays this match. He played a total these minutes. And here it comes. We were ready to have him. I spoke to him and he said, hey, I'm injured. And Tata Martino, okay, I still would like you to come, and you don't have to play. Make the trip, be a part of the process. I'm pretty sure he sat everybody down and said, "This is what I want to do. This is how I believe. This is my tactics. This is the first time I get to see you. Okay, I'll be there." And then in the airport, something changes, and it's fine if Porto was able to, it's fine if they were able to change their mind, but communicate that, hey, you know what? Because traveling, this is what I'm going to do. I'm getting prepared for that April 9th Champions game. I have another game that I have in a week. The traveling, it's just not the right time. And I think at least Tata Martino will be like, okay, that's your decision. I see that. Him saying that, there's going to be consequences is kind of weird. So,
yeah, no, I mean, but again, it goes back to what I said at the start. I mean, you can rationalize it. And I think at the bottom line this is an issue, a communication issue. It's not been communicated well. Porto obviously everything all right there, geezer? Porto haven't done what was required. They didn't release the medical records and the reports on time like Tata wanted. And obviously from the Mexican national team point of view, you look back and he's played all those games, and Conceição has been making the substitutions taking off other players before Tecatito, you know, while supposedly he's playing with injections, it looks very
Yeah.
strange. But I mean, going back to what I said at the start, this is a power thing. This is Tata Martino coming out and saying, "All right, Tecatito, I wanted you here. I needed you here. You said that you'd come here even though you're injured, and then you turn your back on it. I don't like that." And
Yeah.
it's not just a message to Tecatito; it's a message to all the other players that when you come to Mexico camp, there's no messing around. There's not, you come, you turn up, and we work hard. There was double sessions the first kind of 2 days of the Tata era. I mean, it's a message to the other clubs as well, the European clubs. You don't mess with Mexico. Don't.
You say that because
this is serious.
It's true. Vinny Kicks, welcome to the chat, says, my theory, he was never hurt. Porto instructed him not to go to save him for the next few weeks. Thought they were going to get away with it because of the past culture with Osorio. And you know what? What I've heard a lot about the camp, not to, me and you, Tom, we've always said Osorio, the things that he did right, the things that he did wrong. But one of the things about that, we saw how much the players said that he was a genius. And a lot of people are kind of saying that it was because Osorio kind of let the players do whatever he wanted. There wasn't that much necessarily, stern commitment. And you're kind of seeing a difference now, no?
I disagree. I disagree with that. I think that there was a lot of preparation put into what Osorio was doing, but it's a different management philosophy.
Mm-hmm.
There's different ways of managing players. Tata Martino's old school. He's kind of, he's a nice guy. You get on with him. He'll get to know the players, and that's one of his strengths, the union in the group. But at the heart of it, he's old school. You do things right. You get on training. You absolutely work hard. You finish. I don't know. It's that old school mentality, which still goes a long way. I mean, look at Ole Gunnar Solskjaer at Man United. I mean, he's basically reverted. After kind of Mourinho, after Solskjaer's just gone back to the basics. And it's almost like that's what Martino's done. It's almost like back to the basics. Whereas Osorio's philosophy was more like these players, most of them have had a career in Europe. The professional players, they've got to look after themselves. It's not up to me to kind of lay the law down all the time. And I think that's the difference, though. It's a difference in managerial outlook, really, philosophy.
Specifically, Tom, about the games, the tactics. Could you tell us inside that Martino camp, how different are we seeing El Tri in the future? You studied Tata Martino, you've seen what he's done in past teams. One of the things about Osorio that we remember is that Osorio is trying to get something, and a lot of people kind of said that's not the Mexican style. And when we saw, for example, that 7-0 loss, this is what happens when players aren't playing their specific roles, and the term, we have a horrible defense, and we're always really shaky about the defense. Are we going to see that with Tata Martino to get some type of style of play, and it's going to take us a few games or maybe some bad losses for us to finally play that style that Tata Martino wants us to play, or do you think that the style he's going to conform to the Mexican style if we have one, or he's going to take what we can do? It's kind of like the style's not directing the players are directing the style.
No, I mean, obviously it's a bit of both, but I hear a lot of times in Mexico and in the press and stuff that we don't have a style, or we don't have a way of playing, and I kind of completely disagree, because I think Mexican players are, how often do you hear foreigners say Mexican players just so technical, so good on the ball, and I mean those kind of things. It's almost like I don't see Martino being very, very different than even Osorio. I mean, the basic philosophy is the same. You possess the ball, you try and play as much as possible in the opponent's half. I mean, it's a very attacking, attractive philosophy, and playing style. Obviously, there's going to be some differences. Like we saw, Tata Martino employ more traditional kind of fullbacks, although Gallardo, Osorio was the one who played Gallardo as the fullback firstly. And the fullbacks are going to push up. And I think it's going to be a little bit of a case of going back to basics under Martino. It's not going to be that experiment, the extreme experimentation that we saw at times with Osorio, for example. I can't see Raul Jimenez and Chicharito playing in a 4-3-3. Whereas that did happen under Osorio. Chicharito had moved to the wing, Raul had moved to the wing, and I don't see that kind of. I don't think Martino's going to change things up. But I think fundamentally, it's a style that's been implemented for a while now with the Mexican national team, and obviously, it's going to take time. I think Martino's going to. Obviously, he played the 4-3-3 in both the games. I think he needs time to work with the players to work on a kind of a plan B in terms of formation. It was interesting as well. He didn't switch the formations between games, whereas Osorio regularly, switched it radically, and a lot of people really didn't like that. And at times it did look under Osorio, although the players didn't quite grasp it. Because in international football you don't get a lot of time to work with the players. So I think it's going to be more gradual under Martino. I mean, I don't know. I think Edson Alvarez is emerging now.
Yeah.
Not just for his form with America, but from what we saw. I mean, for me, it was no coincidence that Edson Alvarez was the only player who started both those games. I mean, I don't know. I say that as well because, Alvarez was playing that holding role. I think it's a position he's going to have to get to know because America is playing alongside Guido Rodriguez, and it's very different playing that position kind of in a double pivot compared to just on your own. So I think that, but if you are going to change to a 3-man defense, it is going to be Edson Alvarez who drops back into the middle of a defensive line of three, and he's going to have the awareness. But at 21 years old, you look at how he's playing with America. He scored the 2 goals in the championship. He's got World Cup experience. He's already had real lows in the game. Specifically that game against Sweden. And I think
and his players are around the league are reminding him of it apparently in the news.
Yeah. No, Salcedo with the little beef there, but yeah, I think Tata Martino came out and said Edson Alvarez is the most ready Mexican player now to go to Europe.
Yeah,
and I completely agree with him.
Well, to kind of end this segment with Tata Martino, if you could think of a couple negatives, let's say, we talked about the press and the handling and the kind of that drama, but anything else negative, because of the way that everyone's jumping on this Tata Martino team, not to be sticklers, not to be look, and no me digan the whole, un mexicano el enemigo pero es otro mexicano, or whatever it is, but, it's not all perfect and roses. I would have liked to see, although we could see why, Paraguay was able to come back and score a few goals there. Our defense, I definitely want to see. But again, you want to use testing out players. So I see the why. There's not like any shocks. Any negatives for you around this whole international camp?
No, I mean, obviously on the field, it's his first 2 games. You could pick out a few things that need to improve. Yeah. Obviously, I mean, the cohesion. He's still working on it, and it's not going to be. I don't think even in 1 year's time we're going to be able to say, oh, this is Martino's Mexico, honestly, because it's a process, and he's a very calculating kind of guy like that. He's going to be kind of crossing out players, going to try them out and then cross them out and bring them back. Maybe it's a long process. I think the negatives is actually related to the discipline. I mean, there's 2 ways of looking at the discipline. The first is okay, and this is the very very Mexican press point of view. Oh, Tata's come in, he's laid down the law. This is what we need. The players need discipline. They need to be told what to do. No player's going to leave camp early because this is our camp, And I think that basically you look at the repercussions of that this weekend in Europe. Whereas even under Tuca Ferretti, Raul Jimenez would go back, This weekend in Europe, you had Chicharito benched.
Yep.
You had Chicharito benched. You had Raul Jimenez benched. I mean, 2 starters. Those guys were starting in recent weeks. You had Hector Moreno injured, didn't play for Real Sociedad. You had Nestor Araujo injured, didn't play for Celta de Vigo. You had Diego Lainez out of the 18. Guardado out of the 18. He was suspended, so it's a bit different. And then you had Lozano.
Yeah.
And then you had Lozano in his biggest game of the season, against Ajax to step up, and he didn't do it. He didn't have a very good game because the reality is it's not easy to come back. Now, all I'm saying is there is an argument that when you've got such established players, maybe it's better to kind of give them that leeway of sometimes letting them back. That's the argument.
But I mean,
you know.
and obviously the argument is there, and we can go back and forth. But as a coach, it's kind of like tough. It's not. Mexico's not the only one that has that. And yes, the internet. It's a FIFA date, so it's. I can get with the Homelero argument if it's not a FIFA day. Well, they don't really take any of the European players and whatever. But they would be going to Mexico. In fact, I know you're going to kill. They're going to kill me for them. But if anything, if they're worried about their players with rest and with that, I feel that the coming to the United States is a little smooth sailing instead of going to Mexico. If there are games in Mexico, at least.
We saw that in Argentina because it was a disaster. The whole organization of that trip was a disaster. And I'm sure those players would have been thinking, my God, if we would have played in Chicago, we would be out of the nice hotel, go to our training, we'd come back, we'd play, and we just fly back to Europe after the game. But it is an issue. But I think it's into something else we saw in the camp, which is Osorio definitely, he said it regularly. He really, really put emphasis on players moving to Europe and the players being in Europe. He really prioritized that over the Liga MX players, over the MLS players. And Tata Martino is basically, that's another thing he's changed. Now it's kind of like everybody's got the equal chance to get into this team. So why should the Europe-based players be allowed to go back to Europe when the Liga MX players kind of, it's not fair. It's not fair on the Liga MX clubs. So there is that kind of, he's been very careful, Martino, to kind of, to make sure that the players and the Liga MX clubs, who are basically in some ways his boss, because Osorio had problems with the owners. And I think that Martino's been very careful to kind of say the right things and do the right things. In the long term, this is another negative. In the long term, it kind of reduces a little bit the incentive for a Mexican player to go to Europe, because you've got a national team boss who doesn't seem to be he doesn't, at least in what he's saying, he's not prioritizing players in Europe playing at a higher level over Liga MX players. I think the reality is a bit different, but the rhetoric, the message going out is that you can play in MLS and you're going to get in my national team if you're getting regular minutes and playing well. And I think that from a player's point of view, it will feed a little bit into some decision making.
Interesting, Tom. Thank you for your analysis on Tata Martino's camp, and obviously, your great insights on it. It's I think the good thing that we can look at is I was saying right before you joined, the positive that Tata Martino's at least bringing. And I look at the fans, I look at what you guys are saying, and there's really isn't that much controversy with him. I think everybody likes the style. Everybody's seen it started off on the right foot. Against teams that, you could say, Chile isn't Chile anymore and Paraguay is not Paraguay like we used to, but I thought they were a good test for it. And we're going to be seeing more of those CONMEBOL types of teams from there. So interesting to see what we have. Mexico plays 2 more CONMEBOL teams coming up in June in Atlanta against Venezuela, I believe. And then in right before the Gold Cup in June again in Mexico versus Ecuador, in Dallas in that stadium. It's a great stadium. So no Mexico in April and May games for those of you that are excited about going to Mexico games. But don't worry, there's going to be a lot of Mexico games this year, especially as we saw the calendar.
And especially if you're interested in games against CONCACAF opposition, because with the new CONCACAF Nations League,
you know what? Really quick, Tom, for those of you guys that don't know, and I know that's what we didn't have a lot of prep in this, but I want to ask you, a lot of people are just kind of like, where did this tournament come from, the CONCACAF Nations, and how is it played, and what's happening during September and October, November? How many more games are added?
Well, yeah, I mean, they've got two home and away games against one against Panama and one against Bermuda. So, I mean, I think there's going to be at least one friendly. I've heard in September there's going to be a friendly in the United States.
Yeah.
And so I don't know if there's going to be another one, quite possibly. But yeah, I mean that's the deal. I mean the CONCACAF Nations League overall has been massively successful, and I think it will be massively successful. But But it's when you look at it from a kind of Mexican point of view, it's a bit underwhelming. It's difficult to get excited because I mean, we're going to be covering the Gold Cup this summer. Guaranteed, there's going to be two, three group games that aren't going to be too exciting, to be honest. They're going to be against CONCACAF opposition, probably from the lower ranked teams. And then when it gets to the quarters, the semi, the final, okay, then it kind of gets warmed up, the competition. But we're likely to see Mexico against Panama during during the Gold Cup, and then to again play Panama in kind of September, October, and then the March after that to go, if Mexico top the group, to the Nations League final. It's just like, if your theory is that Mexico needs to play friendlies against top opposition to get better, which I think, there is some kind of truth in that. It would be nice, but it's difficult. We talked about it. It's difficult. Go
ahead. Yeah, that dream of playing great nations all the time, and it's not feasible for anybody saying it. They're moleros against bad teams all the time. Why aren't we playing the Spain's, Italy? Because they don't really necessarily want to play us. It's hard to get that.
The world game's changing massively, and I think we're in like a flux period now, because you've got the UEFA Nations League, so that forget playing European teams, completely forget it. You know what I mean? And then obviously you've got the South Americans, and then do they want to come over to the States? I mean, I heard as well that possibly what Mexico and the United States might do in the future is kind of negotiate together with other national teams.
Yeah.
So they might go together and go to Europe.
Which we're kind of already seeing that. When we've seen that before. Normally when a team comes in, they're playing the US on the other FIFA day, and then they're playing Chile. Yeah. Chile exactly is what happened, and we saw that already before. In fact, the reason why we know it is because I'm like, all right, let's see how the US did against Chile and how we did against Chile.
Yeah, I mean, without banging on about it too much, I think one of the interesting things about the Nations League is going to be, going back to the issue about the European players, is you've got an away game against Bermuda, followed by a home game in, let's say, I don't know, maybe they'll play in Guadalajara, maybe they'll play in Monterrey, maybe they'll play in Chiapas. If you've got in October or November, a double header against Bermuda, then getting Chicharito, getting Raul Jimenez, getting these.
Would those be all play? They have to because of an official tournament.
Yeah, they would have to come if they're called up, But I mean, is that wise? Is that And I just wonder, and I think it'll be going through Tata Martino's mind, because there's obviously going to be kind of generational change at some point, and I just wonder that, and I think it's going to be after the Gold Cup we'll see changes. But I'm wondering if Tata's not going to just leave a few of those players out, and just say, you know what, we're going to play this Nations League with the younger players. Next March we'll bring the big guns back. And that'll be part of the kind of generational change. I mean, honestly, if I was in charge, that's what I'd do. I'd take the risk. Obviously, you can lose against Panama, but I'd just take the risk. If I was Tata, I'd just be like, all right, I'm going to leave those guys over there, let them rest, and then I'm going to bring through Roberto Alvarado. I'm going to bring through, Jorge Sanchez, Edson Alvarez, those kind of players, and make them the base of the team.
So they play this, and then you said they go to a Nations League final. Is that like against other nations, for example, just the CONCACAF style, or is there like a mini tournament kind of against the world type? Is that where it's headed to?
Yeah, that's where it's eventually headed. I'm not sure. I don't know as of right now if that's kind of being confirmed, but the idea is that everybody has kind of a Nations League, and then it's almost like the Confederations Cup.
The Confederations Cup?
Yeah.
Are we playing the Gold Cup with our nations to make it to the? I mean, not anymore, but isn't that pretty much what it is?
Yeah, I mean that's the idea. I don't know where the Gold Cup fits in with it, but like I said, everything's in flux.
And is this like a FIFA type of, or is this just brought up by another type of tournament? Like, is this FIFA type of tournament? Why would they want to sign on to this?
Like UEFA have done it, and it's like I think other confederations that think about it, and like I said, the game is changing so much. The international game's changing so much.
Yeah.
And we don't know what the layout's going to look like. I mean, it'd make a lot of sense for CONCACAF and CONMEBOL to play, a tournament together every 4 years.
Yeah.
And then have the Gold Cup every 4 years. You know what I mean? But we don't know how it's going to turn out. And yeah, it's a difficult one. I mean, I also believe that probably this kind of negotiation also came hand in hand with kind of the World Cup bid. I mean, there's so much going on right now. There's so many deals being made. So many
Yeah.
all right, the Mexico and the States going, okay, we'll back the Nations League, back us in the World Cup bid. Because at the end of the day, the Nations League, if you're a Caribbean nation, even a Jamaica or
You
Trinidad
get
and
to play.
Tobago, you get to play a lot more games, competitive games, and it's really it's a big boost for the region. It's just that from a Mexico point of view, it's hardly exciting when you're playing against Bermuda. To be honest, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
No offense to Bermuda.
No, it's true. And I don't know, like, and I don't know, maybe it's because of our culture, and I really would like to see maybe other fans kind of thinking about it, just kind of reading about the map. The Gold Cup, nobody likes it. It's a pointless tournament. It doesn't get us to the Confederation Cup. When it did get us in the Confederation Cup, it's a pointless tournament because no one really takes it as seriously to do that.
I think you want to win it.
Yeah, you want to win it, but we won it, and it's like, well, Confederation's in Mexico, it's like that. Then you have now the Nations League. Well, it's a pointless tournament, and it's like what is if it's not the World Cup? What are you gonna do in 4 years? And this is what my gripe is towards everybody that just kind of, Mexico's playing all these games in the U.S. and then whenever we get an official game, it's the Gold Cup, it sucks. We were in the Copa America, but it's not like Mexico said, you know what, we don't want that tournament. It just happened because they were having problems. CONCACAF said you can't, it's during the time of the Gold Cup, and we were sending a under 23 team to get obliterated. That just didn't do well. I mean, back in the Copa America, the last Copa America we had in 2007, that was successful. It was great, but again, the tournaments that were happening. So I feel like, all right, no Copa America, no Gold Cup, no Moleros in the U.S., no games, for the Nations League. Where are you going to see Mexico play in the next 4 years? Because it's not like they're going to go to Europe and play.
I mean, it's just CONCACAF. CONCACAF is a very, it's easy to criticize. If you're the head of CONCACAF, you've got, the United States, one of the richest nations on earth, if not the richest. Then you got Mexico, which is, a legitimately, a financial point of view, a powerhouse soccer nation.
Mm-hmm.
So you've got these two absolute giants. Then you've got Canada kind of slotting in there, doing its thing. And then you've got like Montserrat with 5,000 people, and you've got to kind of balance all these kind of needs and requests and the growth of the game, and doing the right thing by the big nations, and it's tough. It's very tough. It
is.
And culturally different as well. I mean, the culture of doing business and stuff in the United States is very different than in El Salvador, and to get everybody on the same page is tough.
Again, I don't think we're always happy. People want us to be a CONMEBOL, but we played CONMEBOL teams that people still think it's a Molero. Chile, Ecuador, Venezuela. When are we going to play Spain? When are we going to play Italy? When are we play? It's like we played Argentina twice. Yeah, and play Uruguay. I get, it's people are just never happy. So enjoy Mexico games. Enjoy that they're here in the United States for you guys, that you can attend. Enjoy the fact that you're seeing on it, because believe me, once you miss out on let's say a World Cup, it's definitely really hard. All right, team, let's switch it. Tom, let's switch it over to Liga MX. Man, I mean, we can even spend a whole hour just kind of talking about this, but I want to just ask you before we get into the Chivas talk, before anything like that, America right now, the best team that you see lifting the trophy?
I don't see much difference between America, Tigres, and Monterrey. I mean, let's not forget, America a few weeks ago weren't doing so great. Monterrey were absolutely flying. Tigres, before this America game, were clicked into gear. I just think if you pit those three together in a Liguilla game, they're difficult to split. And obviously you look at
that's good.
Saturday's game. Yeah, it is good. It is good. And going back to the Martino thing, when we saw kind of Carlos Salcedo call out Edson Alvarez after the game, and it does.
But those are guys that don't know, really quick, Tom, give us a little quick preview of what happened. I know there were some words that were saying, but specifically on the game.
Yeah, no, I think basically after the game, Edson Alvarez and Nahuel Guzman kind of got into it a little bit, and kind of Edson Alvarez apparently pulled his tongue out and made fun a little bit. But I mean, it's Nahuel Guzman. I mean, he's
it is Nahuel Guzman. Come on.
He's the biggest merchant in Liga MX. I mean, this guy just pulls no punches in winding people up. So I mean, so Carlos Salcedo basically comes out after the game, and he went up to the press with a message to send out.
Yeah. Everybody took that. Everybody had that. It's not like it was coming out of that. I mean, it came out in the same. Everyone was ready for that message that he said that he was out there crying in the World Cup, and we were consoling him, and here he is laughing. Which I just thought, time out, Tom. We've talked about Carlos Salcedo. Yeah, that's a really dumb thing to say to come out. It has totally not it has nothing to do with what they were. Why would you bring that up? And would there might be some animosity? Like for him to come up and say that, I just Carlos Salcedo has always thought this was like kind of a person that can handle himself well, but obviously all the family problems, that's kind of very childish for him to come up and say that.
Yeah, I mean, it's one of those things that from the media point of view, I love it.
Oh yeah, you love it. Soundbite over talk
about, write about, and I like that about Salcedo. I like that he's not afraid to just come out and say what he thinks. But he's obviously said it. He's kind of charged up. His team just lost 3-0 in the Azteca. Tigres don't lose 3-0. That's a devastating defeat for Tigres, and they deserve to lose. So I think that obviously feeds into it. But yeah, it's one of those things that you say in private. There's no need to come out. But yeah, I mean, I wrote a story on it. I think it also highlights, in a way, just how important Edson Alvarez has become.
Yeah.
To America, to Mexico now. But yeah, I mean, I just think they're gonna patch things up, and I honestly see those two players as being,
they're right next to each other. Mexico, so, yeah, it's like they would for him to say that. All right, continuing. People are kind of going, "Oh, no one gives any love to Leon." Believe me, I can do a whole show, and we'll talk a little bit about Leon. But watching over America over the weekend, what they did against Tigres, and we're obviously going to talk to him. For me, although I see Leon, I've seen a Leon finally get the breaks, because I remember as a fan, and I remember just kind of looking at it like, man, the calls sometimes during liguillas, and it was like finally luck is on their side, and it happens. It can't happen. We're gonna see. I mean, they're able to break the record. We'll talk Leon a little more, but to me right now, if I could pick a team to win the whole thing, and not only with Piojo's pressure for, I think if he loses, but I feel that I'm pretty certain. I mean, I'm going to go with America for right now. I'm winning the whole tournament. I have to say that, especially what they did. But
it's the thing with America now. He's found a starting 11.
Yeah,
and I think Piojo traditionally he likes to keep things fairly consistent. And I think earlier on in the season he's been switching things up. He's been trying things out, and it's just not quite worked. Obviously Oribe Peralta, Henry Martin, and Nico Castillo are all suddenly there. But now, obviously, Oribe Peralta injured. Nico Castillo is actually injured right now. But he's basically what's happened is Edson Alvarez has been doing so well in central midfield that he can't drop him. The two centre backs as well, Aguilera and Valdez, they've been doing so well as a partnership that they can't be dropped either. So you've got this kind of block of four players: Guido Rodriguez, Edson Alvarez, Valdez, and Aguilera, who basically you can't drop them. That is an absolute core of the team, and it's so difficult to break down. I mean, the Tigres tried and tried and tried. I think they had like 63% possession. I think they had half the amount of shots on target than America. He just couldn't get past it, and for me, that kind of core, that block, was absolutely fundamental. But yeah, so I think he's adapted his system. Mateus Uribe has now been given kind of free role, kind of behind Nico Castillo, and you've obviously got Ibarra in Ibargüen on the wings, and it's clicking. It's a really well balanced team. So, and obviously the confidence of beating Chivas a few weeks ago in the Clásico, America are built on that. I mean, that was a massive performance against Tigres, and then on the other side of that kind of Clásico defeat a few weeks back, you've got Chivas, who are now without Pastor.
Let's get into that conversation. Cardoso finally, which many people said that it was taking a little too long. Now the questions will come in, who's going to continue to that. And Ramon Morales' name is out there. Where are you seeing where this is going? And again, it's kind of like it's just laughable in the fact that we continue to talk about one of the most popular teams and how much they struggle. And to the fans, it's almost how overtaking the shadow of Cruz Azul now, right? Cruz Azul had one good season, even though they lost in the final, and we're still talking about Chivas and how bad they are. A start where Cardoso, we thought were like, as fast as Chivas fans, were okay by it, but I mean, you could even a non-fan, you can kind of just go, this guy needs to go, and in what's happening. But where do you see the next step?
I mean, I think you have to go back. I think you have to go back to the title win, and I know I've said it before, and a lot of people disagree with me on kind of Twitter and stuff when I say that for me the massive problem with Chivas is a continual underfunding of the squad. For a big team, you've got to fund the team better. I mean, since that championship win, so many players that have left. Perhaps it was necessary to do kind of get rid of a few faces. But at the end of the day, the quality of players that they brought in hasn't been good enough. I mean, like
is there any and is there any player right now in Chivas that's a better player? There's a you look at that Chivas team that won, and you can say some of the players were the best in Liga MX that were playing together, or at least talent that they had. Is there anyone right now in Chivas that you can say that player, at least they have this player?
No, I mean, they've got some good players. Don't get me wrong. I'm not saying they're a terrible team. I mean, they've got a team that can push for the playoffs. I've no doubt about that. I mean, and they've made some good signings in the off season. I mean, Iranier is a good centre back. Villalpando is a decent kind of creative midfielder. Alexis Vega is one of the best young players in Mexico. Jesus Molina has won the title before, and he's a top holding midfielder, one of the best in the league. But it's not. None of these names are kind of the kind of run-of-the-mill Liga MX kind of decent players rather than exceptional players. And if you look what, America, for example, over the last off-season, they lost Lainez for big money to Real Betis. They lost Cecilio Dominguez to okay money to Independiente. And it was a really tough off-season for America. There was, they didn't know what was going on. There was rumors. There was difficult negotiations. You had the Caco Romero with New York Red Bulls. But at the end of the day, the window shuts, and they've got Nico Castillo, one of the best players in Liga MX in recent years. He's there. He's the number 9. It's deal delivered. You've got Nicolas Benedetti, who's come from Deportivo Cali, one of Colombia's best young players. I mean, these are top players. You've got Menez recovering.
Yeah.
So you've not only replaced the players that have gone, you've done it in a really intelligent way that arguably makes the team better. Whereas I look at what Chivas have done over the last couple of windows, let's not forget that Alanis, Pizarro, Cota left last summer. You've had Salcido obviously go on with, I'm not saying every one of these players would make a difference, but Edwin Hernandez, Ovelin Pineda, Saldiva, Sepulveda, JJ Macias over to Leon now. And it's like, I look at the players coming in and I'm thinking, you're not moving this team forward. Like, if they come together, if they do well, you can have a good team, but it's not this. Chivas is massive. I mean, you see the press coverage from all the stuff that's gone on, and you just, I mean, it's such a big club, and I mean, you need big signings. I mean, you need to do something big. You can't be almost like a Querétaro and trying to negotiate or an Necaxa trying to kind of balance the books and get some decent players in and promote some younger players. I mean, you've got to have your fundamental values, but at a certain point, and that's what they did when they won the title. They went and bought big players. They went and bought Brizuela. They went and bought Alan Pulido. They went and brought in Cota. They went and brought in, Jair Pereira, who, a very good centre back. And I just feel that in a way they've stopped that investment. I think the bottom line is there isn't money. I mean, that's the really worrying thing for Chivas fans. So as much as everybody wanted Cardoso out, and I never thought his face fit at that club. He just never looked quite right. He never felt like a kind of a Chivas manager.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, now we can talk about these options, and we will do now. But at the end of the day, the bottom line for me, whoever comes in, they need to be given money to go and buy some players that are going to improve this starting 11.
But then Tom, the question is who out there would leave, because the players that are there, I feel like will not go to Chivas. Any player that you want at that. If you're the coach, and who would be the player, and is it attainable to bring a player like that to Chivas right now?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I mean, obviously, off the top of my head, it's a bit difficult. But if any of the top Mexican players are available, you have to go after them.
Yeah, but
I mean,
for
we've
example,
seen
like Edson Alvarez, right? We're talking about him. There's no way you're going to go to Chivas.
no, but I mean, when Carlos Salcedo comes back to Mexico, and he's open to going to Tigres, you have to think he would have been open to going to Chivas if they'd have got the money. Now that's my issue. Even Miguel Layun, all right, he might have a history with America, but if you put the money in front of him, then you know what I mean. It's like if those players, Hector Moreno, right now, it looks like he's going to go to MLS. It looks like he's certain to leave Real Sociedad in the summer. Now Chivas, 31, 32-year-old experienced Mexican centre back. That Moreno's a good guy. He's a bright kid. You want those are the players you want, and I don't feel Chivas are in the position to bring those players right now.
Well, the money. I mean, I think it comes back to that money situation.
Exactly.
We should get a slogan: "Don't go to the MLS, go to Chivas." Because if you think about even Marco Fabian, going to say it,
Bien, exactly.
Chivas spend all your money to try to get Vela to go. Can you imagine how huge that would be?
But I mean, the other issue with Chivas is Higuera. I mean, he's falling out with people. He's got his way of doing things. He's obviously a bright business guy, but in terms of what he's done in kind of the football world, I don't know. I mean, he's not experienced in it, and I think that that is an issue as well. But for me, the underlying issue is the lack of money, and I mean, honestly, in a way, that's why if you were to say out of the names, I mean, some of the names mentioned today. Rafa Puente, Mario Carrillo, Antonio Mohamed, Coyote, Tomas Boy, Joel Sanchez, John Van Schip. I mean,
where did Van Schip come from, by the way? Like,
no, he's been sending out tweets that he wants to come back. Well, he just seems like he really wants to come back. But, I mean, Almeida's not coming back, so forget that because Almeida and Higuera just don't get on one bit. But honestly, out of the names that I've seen, I'd go for Ramon Morales. I mean, I know that
the history that he has with the club and he's played and where he's at now.
I mean, if you're not going to have that money to go out and spend, then get someone who knows
someone like that.
The club. When he came in as the interim coach, I was so impressed with him. I mean, he was just like I can't remember who he dropped. He dropped a couple of players, and he was just like, listen, I don't care who they are. If they don't run, if they don't put the effort in with this Chivas team, this is what Chivas is all about. Then they're not going to start. And I just kind of like the authority that he brought to the job. And I just think, again, I know I mentioned Solskjaer before, but it's almost like just bring someone in who absolutely knows the club, who's going to kind of make the team tick. That's going to get the most out of the players that there's actually there. I mean, it would be a risky signing, but I think also from a kind of fan media point of view, I think it would ease some of this big pressure right now. But again, I don't know what Ramon Morales, I don't know what his relationship is with Higuera, because it's quite likely that that's not a great relationship either. So who knows?
I'd like to see Antonio Mohamed. I'm not gonna lie. Just obviously imagine the egos with Higuera and Mohamed will go there, but as much as that, that's not. I don't feel that's gonna happen. But it'd be great stories. For me, even Puente, just and how he carried the very Almeida-esque young, inspirational type of player, and if that's what Chivas needs, maybe that's what got him to that championship. And a lot of people were saying that. But interesting to keep an eye out on what we saw. And I think I'm with you there on Ramoncito Morales.
Yeah.
Yeah, no one hates Ramoncito Morales, first of all. If you hate Ramoncito Morales for anything, there's something wrong with you. This is the guy. Yeah, there's a guy that you will never hate Ramoncito Morales. What he did for the national team, especially. Okay, on our last topic, León about to make history to tie with Toluca in torneos cortos, but watching that game finally with the 2 goals in, and it was kind of, I even said, I'm like, all right, well, the streak had to be over, playing a good team, and we saw somehow León found a way to come back, and what a way to come back. Those golazos to you, someone looking at you has been gone for a year that comes back and looks at this. I mean, a year ago we were talking about Landon Donovan. a year ago we were talking about Leon as what happened. We had all the problems with some players that were leaving, when we saw Boselli and what happened and, the cachetada that was given to him and fans. It's like, how could you replace such an iconic person with the goals and, Nacho Ambriz coming in and then the players that all of a sudden became what they are right now? To you, how can you explain what's happening with Leon? And although we still don't give him the credit, that's what I kind of feel. It's still Leon, but what's going on there at the top of the league and could be, like I said at the beginning of the show, if we keep winning, could surpass Cruz Azul in the 1970s for the most consecutive games won ever in the Liga MX.
Yeah, no, I mean it's a massively impressive run. There's absolutely no doubt about it. I'm not sure. I mean, I've had on my Twitter as well people saying, oh, you're not giving him the credit, or Blanc giving him the credit. I mean, how can you not give him credit for what from what they've done? The only thing I would say is that it's one thing to do it for 10 games. It's another thing to get to the Liguilla, and then it's another thing to do it season after season, and that's been Leon's problem. I mean, they kind of like have one okay. They seem to be a club that kind of ups and huge ups and then real downs.
Huge ups, yeah. That's what I'm saying. It's huge ups. 2 titles, back to back, bicampeonato, and then it's like, and it's a team that gets gold, goleada by 8 the next summer. I mean, the next year,
and then they go on. They have a few bad games, and they fire the manager. New manager comes in. In general, it kind of works out for a while. Then it goes badly again, and then they fire the manager, and then there's an uptick. I mean, Nacho Ambriz this season has been absolutely superb, and I mean he's changed the playing style, the identity of this team. Mm-hmm. If you go back in a year to the 2018 Clausura, I think Leon had a average possession of like 42%. This season, they're not far behind Tigres. They're second in terms of average possession per game, which is a big change in 1 year. It's a big change in playing style. I think if you look at the percentage long balls as well, Leon, it's been reduced drastically. And yeah, obviously, I think going back to the last few years, Leon had been reliant on that Elias Hernandez-Boselli kind of link. I mean, it's been the source of a lot of goals. I don't have the statistic right now. I remember working it out one season. It was just like, it was a ridiculously high percentage of Leon's goals came from the combination of Elias Hernandez and Boselli. Yeah. And I think that, that's good. It's good that they work so well together, but also, if they're not playing so well, or if another team can stop that, then it's also quite easy to kind of, to stop them. And obviously this season, I think Luis Montes has been absolutely superb. I think the player that's not got the credit is Jose Rodriguez, who's kind of sitting in front of the defense, and he's just kind of giving Luis Montes a bit of freedom, a bit of liberty to do his thing, because he's a superb player to watch, Luis Montes. I think going back over the last few years, I don't know, he's a lovely player. He's just a good player to watch. And then obviously you've got Jose Macias and Joel Campbell doing the thing, and obviously you've got a player who's just absolutely, breaking all the stats, just an absolute freak right now, which is Angel Mena. Yeah. I mean, what his numbers this season are absolutely and utterly ridiculous. I mean, what is it now? 12 goals and 8 assists or something in like 12 games. I mean, that's absolutely ridiculous.
The comparisons to like Cristiano Ronaldo and Messi there on the stats that he's had already for the season are crazy. And it's us surreal as fans to look at him, because I go, okay, when is this going to end? Because it doesn't happen. And I'm telling you, as Leon fans, you kind of go, it doesn't happen. Even though we've had a Boselli, because we're expecting, but the way that he's come out,
Andy's not a striker.
Yeah, that's another thing.
He's coming off the wing. It's not like he's kind of, just he's being fed these goals. I mean, he's making his own goals. He's kind of, he's creating chances for others. I mean, he's absolutely nailed on for player of the season. I mean, he's absolutely. I don't think Brian Fernandez, I feel a bit sorry for him over in the Necaxa, because he's been absolutely superb, and you've obviously got the backstory of, he's a cocaine addict, recovered in Tijuana, went out of the game, and now he's come back. Apparently he's being tested regularly by the club as well. But for him to, he's obviously that's an amazing story this season. But for Angel Mena, don't forget, rejected by Cruz Azul, just ditched by Cruz Azul. For him to do what he's done is, I don't know, it's ridiculous.
He played 27 matches and scored 3 goals.
Yeah,
in Cruz Azul. He in 2016, 2017, he played 16 matches and scored 5 goals. I think he had a couple goals in Copa MX for Cruz Azul, but as far as Liga MX for León, 12 matches, 11 goals, 8 assists. In Copa MX, at least 1 goal. I mean, it's crazy, and you kind of look at it and you're seeing, wow, it feels like that team's having a lot of fun. But just like you said, will that translate over a year to year? Will that translate over into La Liguilla? Remember, León won not being the greatest team in both of those seasons, having a good, solid back. I would say, the Gullit, the Gallito, the Luis Montes, the Rafa Marquez, the Boselli. Obviously, you're looking at that now, the great players. But before then, it was kind of a, that's where we saw the talent. But now it's kind of interesting to see.
Yeah, I mean, can they get it together? Would you be surprised if León are champions this season? No. I mean, my thing is though, and I think let's not get carried away. I mean, obviously that comeback was great against Morelia, but that's not a great Morelia team for me.
Yeah.
And they were 2-0 down, and the defense was pretty terrible in that first half. And I think that's going to be the downfall of León. I think when they come up in Liguilla over 180 minutes against the Tigres, against the Monterrey, against an America, or a Cruz Azul, because Cruz Azul are very, very good at neutralizing attacks. I think that's where they're obviously it's harder against a better team, but I just worry about them defensively a little bit, even though the record, in terms of conceding is very good. I'm just not. I don't know. I can see more weaknesses in León right now than what I'd call the big three.
Yeah, and I think that's where when it goes, we're not giving them the credit because it's still a long season, and the Liguilla can break especially any super leaders that we've seen.
Yeah.
So
no, for sure. I like it when León are doing well. I mean, I think it's a nice city. I know you do, so that's why I'm being kind to you. I'm saying some nice words here. But it's a real one-team city, and everybody in the city gets behind the team. Yeah. And the stadium has a good atmosphere. It's a kind of an old school stadium. It's a good size as well. I don't know, what is it, about 30,000, something like that. It's like, sometimes you go to the Jalisco or you go to the Azteca and you watch a game and there's 30,000 in there, and it's like it doesn't generate the atmosphere. Whereas you go to León and you feel this is a real game, and they've got that, what's it outside, guacamole? What's it called? Guacamole? Guacamole, that's the one. Yeah, they got the guacamayas. But yeah.
The guacamayas.
All
right. Really quick, that's just want to get your thoughts before we leave. I know it's already time to go, guys. Thanks a lot for listening to us. Any big changes in the CONCACAF Champions League, or we're gonna get 2 Mexican teams in the final? Do you see?
I think
Tigres Santos, Monterrey Sporting.
Tigres Santos. I think you just about have to go with Tigres, but it's a all Mexico tie. There's not much between them. Santos is a good team, but the other one's fascinating because Sporting Kansas City absolutely drilled Toluca. Toluca weren't in form, but they've come down to Mexico. They've beaten Toluca. They've been applauded off the field, and I think that gives you a lot of confidence. I think that'll give Sporting Kansas City, a big boost heading into the game against Monterrey. And they've just won 7-1, and they've got a striker who I think scored 8 goals in 7 games this season in Nemeth. And you've got a Monterrey team who were booed off last weekend after the 2-2 draw against Cruz Azul. Yeah. I mean, this is a Monterrey team that there is something that doesn't quite fit. There's no connection right now between the fans and especially Diego Alonso. There's a feeling that obviously they've let Leeds slip, and they've let Leeds slip when Alonso has made defensive changes. And there's a theory that, I don't know. I mean, I think without knowing the psyche of a Monterrey fan, it seems like it's almost like Rayola fans are kind of, we've got arguably the best squad on the continent. One of the most expensively assembled squads on the continent. Why are we dropping back?
Yeah.
You know, when we're 2-0 up against a team at home, you know, we're 1-0 up against Tigres. Why are we dropping back? Let's get a second. Let's get a third. And I think that's the mentality. And I think Alonso has been a lot more pragmatic than I ever thought he'd be, to be honest, because I had him down as more, more kind of ideologically leaning towards, you know, possession, a kind of an attacking game. But he's showing a lot of pragmatism. So we'll see. But I think that's going to be. I don't think there's going to be much in that game, to be honest.
Yeah. You know, it's kind of, I look at I kind of want to go, I think the worst thing that I would want would be Santos versus Sporting KC. I don't know. I don't want that to be in the final. It'd be great to have Monterrey versus Tigres just because of the history. Here comes Tuca and hopefully Monterrey. I really want to see Tigres kind of advance, right? That's kind of like the goal. I want to see Tuca's team go into the Club World Cup and hopefully field a talented team that can do something. Not to say Monterrey not. But then at the same time, I don't want to be two Mexican teams because I want that, MLS side to finally come through. And I'm not, to all, I want Mexico to win. But I want a good, story at the end. I want, the Liga MX team to beat the MLS team if we're looking at rivalries. But I want the team to get there. And I feel that when I thought at Atlanta, I'm like, finally, we're going to get a good team. We're going to get great players. What a final would be Tigres Atlanta, or even if it could happen or not. But that's what kind of we're leading up to it. And it didn't happen. So I feel like even not as a non-MLS fan, they find a way to break your heart. You're like, what? You're going to really lose? Well, come on. Like, we're not even wanting you to get in there, but so it's kind of funny to me. Hopefully it's Tigres Sporting. That'd be a great final, and hopefully Tigres was able to make it in a penalty kick shootout, and that's the way that my perfect scenario would be.
Yeah, no, I mean, it's what the tournament needs. I've said it a lot before. I mean,
exactly.
The team needs MLS team to win this tournament because, me being down here in Mexico, nobody gets excited about it. I'm not going to lie. Nobody's excited about this tournament.
Yeah.
Nobody's talking about it. It's not in the press. It's not in the newspapers. It's just a kind of side thing. I mean, probably more people talking about America against Xolos in the cup, than the CONCACAF Champions League because everybody's expecting the Mexican team to win. And MLS teams can win the game here, but unless they're winning the tournament, then it's going to be difficult. But I'll tell you what, I mean, nobody had Sporting Kansas City down to win this thing. I just wonder if that fact, is actually going to help them. You know what I mean? Because when Toronto were on that mark,
Toronto. What happened to Toronto?
Atlanta are going to do this, they're going to do that, and it's always, oh well, Monterrey just beat you 3-0. They just turned it on for 15 minutes, and you couldn't cope. And I just wonder if Sporting Kansas City, without that big star name, without that kind of, without really any PR around them or any media hyping them up, I just wonder if on the quiet, they've got a good manager in Peter Vermes. I just wonder if just on the quiet they can do a job against a Monterrey team not doing well. I mean, now's the time to play Monterrey. Anyway.
It can happen. All right, sir. Thank you so much, Tom, for joining us. Thank you all for listening to us here on the Mexican Soccer Show on this April Fool's. Bit of history. Tom and I met 5 years ago today on April Fool's. It's been that long, Mr. Tom Marshall. We came in and covered Mexico versus the U.S. game there, 2-2 with Mr. Piojo Herrera. We first kind of, also shout out to Mr. Cesar Hernandez. We all first kind of came in and had fun and talked about the Mexican soccer game. I appreciate everybody on the chat. Thank you so much for your questions, and all of you guys on iTunes for listening to us. If you have any questions, let us know. Try to get us to before Monday, and we will try to answer them at Mexican Soccer Show on Twitter and also on Facebook that we're on there. Gracias, Tom. Thank you to all. Thank you to behind the scenes, Miss Amy Lopez, who does a great job of producing the show and getting us in line. Appreciate all that you do and all the live tweeting. So thank you. Will be a lot more coming up in this whole week. Lots and lots of soccer, especially with the CONCACAF Champions games that we have coming up. And then obviously what would happen with Liga MX. We'll be back on Monday, 7 o'clock Pacific, Tom. 7 o'clock Pacific here on the Mexican Soccer Show. All right. Hasta luego. Nos vemos. Saludos a todos.